I want you to picture two men, same age, both in their late 30s, both by every external measure successful. The first man is at his kid's Saturday soccer game. He's there physically. His body showed up, but he's on his phone for most of it, answering emails, approving a budget, putting out a fire that someone else should have handled. His kid scores a goal. He looks up 2 seconds too late. He claps anyway. His kid doesn't see it. He drives home in a car that costs $1,100 a month and feels nothing on the way back. Just the low hum of a life running on autopilot. The second man is at the same soccer field, different kid, same Saturday. He coaches the team, not because he had to, because when his daughter asked, he had the time. He drives home in a 5-year-old car that's fully paid off. He makes dinner, not from a meal kit, just from the fridge. The house isn't impressive from the outside, but inside it there's something that the first house doesn't have. Presence. The actual presence of a human being who is fully there. Both men are successful. Both own homes in good neighborhoods. Both are respected by their colleagues. One of them built a life. The other built a performance of a life. And the quietly devastating thing is that for most men, the difference only becomes visible at moments you can't undo. The first man isn't lazy. He isn't selfish. He isn't bad at his job. He's actually exceptional at his job. That's exactly the problem. At some point in his 20s, he made a series of small, completely reasonable decisions. He took the promotion. He bought the house that stretched his budget because it was in the better school district. He leased the car because the monthly payment felt manageable. He kept saying yes to the things that made his resume look better and his lifestyle look bigger. And at no point did any single decision feel wrong. The problem is that each decision silently narrowed the options available to him afterward. Each upgrade added to the monthly number his life required to function. And over time, the number got so large that stopping wasn't really a choice anymore. He couldn't slow down. The mortgage didn't slow down. The lease payment didn't slow down. The private school tuition didn't slow down. He didn't build a life. He built a machine that requires him to keep running. There's a name for this. It's called the golden handcuff. And it's one of the most common and least discussed financial traps that high-earning men walk directly into with open eyes and zero awareness. Here's what nobody tells you about financial success in your 20s and 30s. Income solves the obvious problems. It buys security from poverty. It buys access to better neighborhoods, better schools, better options. But past a certain baseline, more income doesn't automatically buy a better life. It buys a more expensive life. Those are not the same thing. A more expensive life requires more income to sustain, which means it requires more of your time, which means it costs you the one resource that income cannot replace. The men who quietly realize they built the wrong life almost never realize it because of money. They realize it because of time. Specifically, the absence of it. They look up one afternoon and understand that the past 3 years have been a blur of meetings and airports and Saturday emails. That their kids have been growing up while they were billing hours. That their marriage has quietly converted from a relationship into a logistical partnership. And the thing that makes this moment so devastating is that it can't be fixed by the next promotion. The golden handcuff is designed to make you feel like you're winning, right up until the moment you realize what you traded. So how does this happen? What's the mechanism? Because these aren't stupid men. These are often the most disciplined, most driven, most capable men in the room. The mechanism is this. They optimized for the wrong metric. They measured success by income, by title, by the visible markers of professional achievement. And those metrics told them they were winning. Every raise confirmed it. Every promotion confirmed it. Every upgrade to the car or the house confirmed it. But income is a lagging indicator of what you actually want. What most men actually want are when you strip away the performance, the social comparison, the identity tied to the job, is time, autonomy, the ability to be present, the ability to say no to things that don't matter and yes to things that do. You can't optimize your way to those things. You can only buy them by maintaining the gap between what you earn and what you need. And high earners, almost without exception, let that gap close. The second man at the soccer field, the one who coaches his daughter's team on Saturday, he didn't stumble into that life. He designed it. And the design started with a single uncomfortable question he asked himself at 31 years old, after a business trip where he realized he'd missed 4 consecutive bedtimes without noticing. The question was, what does enough look like? Not what does impressive look like? Not what does successful look like to my colleagues or my parents or the algorithm? What does enough look like to me in terms I actually care about? He answered it. He wrote it down. He decided that a paid-off house he could genuinely afford was worth more than an impressive house that required both he and his wife to work more than they wanted to. He decided that a car that ran reliably was enough, that a vacation they could actually afford without going into debt was worth more than a vacation they couldn't stop checking their email on because the financial pressure never turned off. He defined enough. And then, as his income grew, he did something most high earners never do. He stopped upgrading. He let the gap widen, and the gap, not the income, is what bought him his Saturday mornings. This is the core of what the men who built the right life understand that the men who built the wrong one don't. Lifestyle is a ratchet. It clicks upward very easily. It almost never clicks back down. Every upgrade to your monthly expenses becomes the new floor. The new car payment becomes the new baseline. The house with the bigger mortgage becomes the minimum acceptable standard. And once you're living at that standard, the psychological cost of going backward feels unbearable, even if the practical cost of going backward would be minimal. The ratchet is invisible when you're clicking it upward. That's the cruelty of it. Each individual upgrade feels like a reward, a recognition of how hard you've worked, a completely reasonable next step. But each one locks you further into the machine. Each one shaves a few more hours off the hours you theoretically own. The men who built the right life treated lifestyle upgrades like financial decisions, not emotional ones. They asked a version of the same question every time. Does this upgrade buy me more time and freedom, or does it cost me time and freedom? A house you can comfortably afford on one income buys you optionality. A house that requires 2 full-time incomes at maximum capacity costs you optionality. The house might be identical. The math is not. Here's what the moment of realization actually looks like. It rarely arrives with fanfare. It almost never arrives during a crisis. It arrives on an ordinary Tuesday. You're on a call you didn't need to take. You're listening to someone talk about something that stopped mattering to you years ago. You look at your calendar and see the next 3 months mapped out in 30-minute increments. And you have a thought, not a dramatic thought, just a quiet one. This is not what I wanted. And then the second thought, even quieter. I'm not sure I can leave. That second thought is the golden handcuff closing. That second thought is the sound of a lifestyle that got too expensive to exit. The men who never have that second thought are the ones who kept the gap open. They kept their monthly number low enough that options remained. They could take a pay cut without catastrophe. They could take a risk without panic. They could say no to the thing that paid well but cost them everything else. The gap gave them the ability to choose, and choice, genuine choice, is what a good life is actually made of. The man at the soccer field who missed the goal, he's not a bad person. He built what he thought he was supposed to build. He followed the signals the culture gave him. Earn more, own more, upgrade, repeat. Nobody handed him a different map, but the map exists. And the men who find it early enough share one common understanding, that wealth is not what you own, it's what you can choose. That a smaller house you can afford to leave gives you more freedom than a larger house you can't afford to lose. That the car that doesn't require a payment gives you something no car payment ever could. That presence is not something you achieve after you make enough. It's something you design for deliberately, before the ratchet clicks too many times to reverse. You don't have to build the life you are pointed toward. You have to be willing to measure success differently, not by what the external markers say, by what Tuesday morning feels like, by whether you looked up in time,